American families and individuals are fracturing under these transformed landscapes of economic life and personal life. And that's a shame, because the family, much touted as the only support system that's around, even though just a little cute digression, I mean, I'll think it's cute anyway, is, you know, most people really do sustain themselves emotionally on the kindness of strangers, the kindness of friends. And we all are around because of the kindness of strangers, because until the 1800s, it was customary to kill the kids you didn't want. You'd take them to the marketplace, and if somebody picked them up because they wanted an extra kid for whatever reason, fine. Otherwise, they froze to death. And even Emile, who was the founder of the first child-rearing text, and, you know, founder of child, not Emile Rousseau, who wrote Emile, he had 5 kids, he killed 3, he kept 2. That was what you did for birth control. And there are all sorts of pictures, if you're ever interested. There's a very good book called The Kindness of Strangers by John Boswell, with all these pictures of these nicely dressed women tossing their kids in the river and so on. But, so we're all existing probably somewhere out of the kindness of strangers, or we wouldn't be here. Because a lot of those kids were brought up by strangers. So now we're in a very difficult place in America. Women are working very hard because outside of their paid jobs, they have to come home and meet people's emotional needs and take care of houses. Men come home from work, and from work in jobs whose salaries and conditions have deteriorated. And they want women to take care of them when they return, the way their mothers took care of their fathers. And because of that, they're very reluctant to say, I want to help, you know, to pitch in. That's why women still do 82% of the child care and 70% of the housework. And so women's lives are more exhausting and demanding, and they initiate divorces to get rid of men's demands. Married women are a very depressed group, and men are the least depressed group in the United States, and I think that's because married men are still taken care of in a way that they didn't used to be. But a lot of men are resentful and isolated and lonely. Yeah?
I'm sorry, did you say that men are the least depressed group?
Married men.
Married men. Is that taken into consideration?
Married women are the most depressed group.
Oh, okay.
But married men are the least depressed group. And you can see why women would be deserting marriage on that basis. Now, one of the problems that we have as a nation is within this disaster, there really are no coherent social or political programs addressing the interconnected issues of national priorities and of family deterioration. There aren't the kind of massive movements towards child care, after-school care, family vacations, child allowances, all the things that, let's say, the French have, or many of which the Germans have, and free health care. So all of this is on the family at the same time as the family is in such excruciating trouble. The family and personal life, which are so central to people's lives, and particularly women's lives, are parts of life that progressive people have left alone as far as platform goes. The religious right does focus on the family, and it celebrates women's role in the family at the same time as they passionately oppose every social support that would make that possible. So they celebrate women's role caring for children, but do nothing about child care, after-school care, health care. They celebrate women taking care of the elderly and do nothing for elder care. They celebrate women taking care of the sick and do nothing to support health care, and so on. So that, you know, and Sarah Palin is kind of the poster child for that, because she ran on the basis of we can do it all, and that she will break the glass ceiling for all women and take care of special needs children. She actually vetoed the bill for special needs children in her state and has done nothing for women, which is pretty much like the right-wing strategy to extol the family and do nothing to support it. And what's a very interesting thing showing this position of what's happened is unmarried women, women who are rejecting those roles and who are suffering and want real change, voted for Obama en masse. Unmarried women with children voted 74 to 25 for Obama. Unmarried women without children voted 69 to 31 for Obama. So, and unmarried women gave Obama 12 million votes in this country, which I think they did because unmarried women need change. And what's interesting is a slight majority of married women voted for Palin, because I think they wanted to still buy the fantasy of the impossible reality that she's selling. And also millions of American men rejected McCain's military swagger and his simplistic macho solutions in order to vote for change. Now we have a particularly crisis situation. The economy is in free fall. 700 to 800 jobs are lost every hour. 20,000 jobs are lost every day. 150,000 jobs are lost every week. You could look it up in the Bureau of Labor Statistics if you want to be depressed. So every problem that I discussed is getting worse. Male jobs, which pay more, are also cut more. Low-level service jobs have more of a chance to be retained, and those are women's jobs. So men who weren't able to support wives and children before can do so even less. Women have to take whatever work they can, regardless of its impact on children. And so that the crisis of the economy is suffused with a parallel personal suffering that's engendered by a personal and family crisis, which relate to that same graph that you've heard about probably ad nauseum. So now, in the last part of my talk, I want to address something just because it really dramatizes everything I'm talking about. I think, sometimes you're all excited about something and realize you're the only one who is, so we'll find out. Dramatizing these huge changes for Americans. Because Americans have also had this other development that they've become passive while their lives are decimated and their homes, their jobs, and their families are taken away from them. And this too is a little remarkable because neither France, nor Germany, nor Greece, nor Britain have yet suffered the percentage of job and home losses that the United States has suffered. And yet 1 million French people participated twice in 2 general strikes that paralyzed their country. The Greeks have had basic riots for 2 weeks, paralyzing their center-right government. The French kidnapped and locked up the 2 managers in the 3M plant and Caterpillar plants because they wouldn't negotiate, and they suddenly changed their minds. The Germans have been on the streets screaming and demonstrating. The Britons have taken to the streets in protest, some violent. And we have remained silent, we who have suffered the most. I mean, they may catch up, but they already have a social safety net, which we don't. And so the likelihood of parallel suffering is less. So what happened? And the answer is complicated. It involves a general political, civic, and social isolation here that other people don't share. And part of the reason for that is to raise a family in the United States means without any supports, you have to be so family focused that you practically have to shut out every social and political activity in your life and withdraw to your own child care and your own personal family. In France, for example, it's a country that I'm familiar with, so I'll say them. When you have your baby, You get a personal trainer to come to your house for 2 weeks to show you how to firm up your muscles. You get a home health person to come for several months so that you can have time free while she does your laundry and other things. You have wraparound daycare to the time that your child is 3 years old, where you can bring your kid at 7 in the morning and pick them up at 7 at night, fed, clothed, and in a new outfit. You know, in a regular, their clean, lovely outfit, because the French are into outfits, so the kids hang up their nice outfit of presentation in their locker, and then they go and are in these little cute bright terry suits all day, and then they pick up their lovely outfit to go home well fed and bathed. And parents who don't want to do that have optional daycare for $1 an hour when they need it. Think of what that would do to relationships if people had that time together. Think of what it would do to women's lives. Huge. And so that's part of the reason